Mitchiner, Jason William Mitchiner Galbraith, GAOMG. I just want to go over with you where my ancestry is and everything that I'm doing right now is that you can see this is my Galbraith ancestry on my biological mother's side. And you can see she's right there, Galbraith, and then it shows her father, and then his father, Galbraith, and then his father, Galbraith, and then his father, Galbraith. So it goes father to son, and it's an unbroken chain, and it keeps going. I mean, throughout the generations, even further than that. Then there's John Galbraith, Neil Galbraith, Archibald Galbraith, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And it's really cool. I have the DNA. I have this amazing historical paper trail that I have, and it's all great, but it's all on my maternal side, which I think is incredible to have that unbroken chain from paternal father to son. And that's what Scotland and the UK, they care about, except that they want it all to come from your paternal side, not your maternal side. So I'm exploring my paternal side, and I took this big test that they're still working on since November 6th. And I have somebody on the Stewart side that's helping me, that I have an ancestral cousin who comes from Alexander Stewart, the Wolf of Bandenoch. And we're ancestral cousins, but I am not the direct father to son, unbroken chain like my ancestral cousin is. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, is my unbroken paternal chain. And this is my DNA, or my tree really is this is me right there, and that's my biological father, and then this is his father, and this is Thomas William Mitchener. This is the person that he was named after, that I wrote my first book about. He's the oldest of 3 brothers, and he fought in the Civil War as a Confederate, and I write about all of his adventures. But then before that, the chain gets broken. Then his father changed his name to a Mitchner. So at some point, the last name was a different surname, Best, and they changed it to Mitchner, I guess like a stepfather that he liked or whatever. But I am not a Mitchner, and that's what I'm trying to figure out, is the unbroken, my paternal side, father to son, that is so important to Scotland and the UK, what they all pay attention to. Even though I think the maternal side is awesome, they just focus on that's how you can become a title or inherit it, a whole bunch of stuff, and it's all done through the paternal side. So again, that's what I'm trying to figure out. And through this big DNA project that I'm involved in right now, hopefully with 21st century technology, I can figure out, my unbroken chain, why it stops there. I mean, I can show you, this is my great grandmother, and this is her last name, and she's unbroken. You can follow her trails and all of her ancestry forever. I've got Stewarts in here. I've got Scott in there. That's obviously Scottish. I've got Campbell's in here. I've got just McKelvey's, and it just keeps going and going and going and going. And that's my my ancestral maternal side from my paternal father, but on his side it stops. And again, I'm trying to figure out who my paternal side is and doing everything I can. But if I'm not able to do that with modern day DNA, I'm still in a great group. Is that my 2 favorite Mitchiners, besides myself being the third, my 2 favorite Mitchiners are also not Mitchiners, just like me. And one of them, I'm sure everybody's heard of, is this guy, James A. Mitchener, the author. and he's from New York City, and he was an orphan, and he was adopted by an Edwin and Maple Mitchner. And so he's not a Mitchener at all. He has no idea who his paternal or maternal parents, either one of them, was. And he was still adopted by some Mitchiners. And what he wrote about them is pretty amazing. Is that he says that I was raised in an atmosphere of love and responsibility, and it was constant laughter in my home despite the anguish I suffered at times. I didn't let tragic lives, laughter, or tears surround me. And that's just so powerful for him to have no idea where he came from, but for him to enjoy these Mitchiners that adopted him. And then another Mitchiner that I am so proud of is William A. Mitchiner, a doctor. And this is Dr. William Mitchiner, that a lot of people have no idea who he is. And he was a doctor of color, and both of his parents were in slavery, and he still became a doctor. And that is just so powerful. And his last name Mitchner, he's obviously, and that's not an inherited surname. His parents were slaves to a Mitchner. So the two other Mitchiners weren't even Mitchiners at all. I'm not a Mitchiner either. And what this Dr. William A. Mitchiner endured and went through is so amazing. Like, I want, of course, my life made into a movie. That's how you get royalties. That's how I can buy my ancestral castles. Without that, I'll never have the resources to purchase my ancestral Galbraith Bardowi castle. But what he did and overcame is so amazing, and his story needs to definitely be made into a movie. I mean, he's an accomplished doctor, and this just goes over, it's Dr. Mitchiner's ordeal, and it talks about he was brought up on charges by a white couple that he was accused of giving the white mother an abortion, which he didn't do. And had he done that, I mean, they would have lynched him right there on the streets. And he was an accomplished, established doctor. And for him to come from slavery and overcome all of that is just so mind-blowing to me. And this just talks about his ordeal. And if I can just read, some of it, is that they said that over a dozen character witnesses appeared in court this morning for Dr. Mitchner, including prominent local druggists. They all testified that Dr. Mitchner had a good character as a man and a doctor. And officers testified that he didn't do anything wrong. He even prescribed a drug for a white lady in the past, but it was like for an ailment. It had nothing to do with abortion. And even if he gave any type of drug for an abortion, it would have killed the patient. And so the two people that came to him for an abortion, the white couple, he never gave them an abortion. And even with all of this testimony and everything that he went through, the judge still had to decide on it, and they pushed to get this case like thrown out of court, and the judge still wouldn't do that. So it's just again, like talking about it, it's like the defense presented some 16 other character witnesses to state in the case against Mitchner, declaring that in all his 30 years of practice, here it was first time he had ever examined a white woman. Dr. Mitchner took the stand on his own defense. No lawyers or anything for this doctor. And then defense, and told of being called by Mrs. Lucas on 1938. I told them that I didn't do that kind of work, and not to let anyone else do it. That's not to let anybody else give them the abortion, said Mitchner. and he had denied that he had anything to do with attempting the abortion. Uh, and then it just goes on. Officers testified that Mrs. Lucas had told them that Mitchener had given them the address of another black doctor that might be able to help them. But he said that he did that because he was like, I wanted to get rid of them and stop them from coming to me. He was just trying to think of anything to get them out of there. And then Dr. Mitchiner's case was given a decision on Tuesday after defense attorneys had argued to dismiss the case again after the defense evidence. So they tried to get the case dismissed, that Dr. William A. Mitchner had nothing to do with this. And the judge was like, no, we're not going to dismiss this case. And more character witnesses had to come forward. And eventually he was found, not guilty of giving a white woman an abortion. And I mean, this is an established man that's built himself up against all odds with his parents that were in slavery, and with the last name Mitchner, that's not even his surname. And then his obituary when he's gonna die. This is so profound. This is a doctor right here. And he writes, at the end of his life, after everything he's gone through, he writes, as he has observed the growing intelligence of his people and their increasing wealth, he believes that the chief bar to the progress of the race is lack of a better understanding between the races. That's, black and white. Given this, he sees no reason why both races should not live together in peace and harmony. That's back then. That's from a doctor of color, that both of his parents were in slavery, that they were going to lynch him for falsely accusing him of giving an abortion to a white woman. And in his dying words, he says he doesn't see any reason that black and white races can't live together in harmony. That just takes these are such powerful people. Both the author, James A. Mitchiner, come from being abandoned by his parents, never knowing who they are, and becoming this successful author and looking at the laughter and everything in life. And for Dr. William A. Mitchiner to not absolutely despise all the people that were against him. How both of these Mitchiners kept their last names even blows my mind. I would do the Muhammad Ali. I would rip that Mitchiner name right off my back, just like I'm looking to do. If I can never find my absolute paternal descendant of what I was before I became a Mitchiner, I'm going to change my last name to something, because I don't care what my biological father or biological mother ever named me. But for these Mitchiners to be this powerful is something I aspire to be, even though I know I'll never be. I would go after everybody with all of my might that ever did me wrong. And I write about that all in my first book. I write about it through a Native American's voice, wanting to kill the white man that's coming to take everything away from them, all of their ancestry, their culture, their heritage, their land, everything that's their birthright. And then also I write about the slaves that the Mitchiners own, and them getting redemption against the white master with the tomahawk from the Native American, and that tomahawk finally getting redemption against some of the evil white men of that time and place. And it just blows me away that these Mitchiners that are non-Mitchiners are that powerful. And I mean, certainly this doctor is the one that a movie needs to be made of. Cheers.